Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to make these cool skull pasties using stencils from Siren and Ice. They are a Etsy seller that makes these cool cut files, or you can get stencils that they will create from their Cricut machine for you. I always opt for the stencils, that's just easier for me. And they make these great designs that make pasty making so easy. They do all the hard guesswork part for you. Creating the stencils is, I think, one of the hardest parts of pasty making because it's the foundation of everything. So you can see here I'm tracing my stencil onto my buckram. Buckram is a millinery supply. It's used in hat making. Makes great pasties, and I trace 2 of the designs and then cut those out as close as I can to the designs themselves to save on waste of my buckram. And then I go ahead and cut out 2 more for each stencil of the same shapes in buckram. Here I'm just trimming off the extra edges so that when I won't go in and trace it on the buckram again, I save on more buckram. So then I just cut out a couple more for each, what'll end up being each pasty in the pair. I like 3 layers. It tends to be the strongest and most durable way. 4 layers gets a little too thick. 2 layers is not quite enough. 3 is just perfect. So you can see here I got my 3 layers. And then I'm going to go ahead and hot glue these layers together. And I will show you that process. I use these little silicone kind of finger cots, and they cover up and protect my hands from the heat of the glue. This does allow me to press the layers together while the glue is really hot, which is nice because it makes it nice and thin and secure. And I kind of roll it together and roll off the excess. You do end up with kind of a pile of excess glue that you've rolled off, which is fine. You shouldn't have too much excess glue rolling off, but there is some. It's just part of the process. As it gets cooler, I'm able to use my unprotected hand, especially the palm of my hand, to roll off more of that excess glue. In the past, when I was a little more messy with this process and did too much glue at once, I used to have to sand them, but now that I've kind of got a handle on how much glue I need, I don't need that much. And then I just cut off some of the excess around it before I glue it down to the next layer, just because it makes it easier. It makes it easier to make sure the glue comes all the way to the edge of the design itself, so that you don't have gaps in it. And you just repeat over and over again until you've got all 3 layers glued together on each pasty. You can see here all that excess glue. I've kind of dusted aside. And now I am drawing the dart on. This part gets cut away so that you can dart the pasty to make it more of the shape of a breast or a chest, depending on kind of what it's going on. And depending on your shape or your customer's shape or your friend's shape or whatever, whoever these are intended for, you can dart it deeper or more shallow. You can dart it deeply and fill the crevice with more hot glue. So if you want it to still project a little, but there's not a lot of breast tissue that the pasty will be adhering to, you can kind of fill that void with hot glue inside. So you can see I'm just using more hot glue to dart the pasty and give it that kind of cone shape. to really get good pasties that twirl, they need just a little bit of kind of pointiness for just the physics of twirling tassels. You could see there, I've got both pairs done. And then I kind of just compare and make sure that they're not too different. Most people don't have perfectly symmetrical nipples. So if one is slightly bigger than the other, it's okay, because usually so are we. But I do trim down a little bit because one inevitably is bigger than the other, or one is smaller than the other. So I kind of even out the bigger one just a little bit so that it's not immediately on first glance on somebody's chest clockable that one of them is bigger than the other in a real obvious way. And so there's all the excess stuff that you got to kind of dispose of during the process. And for this next part, to color your bases under your stones, you can use paint, you can use fabric to cover them. You can do whatever you want. You can leave them plain, but unless you're using like really white stones, that white of the buckram is going to show through. So it's almost better to color them with generally what color is going to be stoned over the top of them. And it also can give you an opportunity to kind of make a stoning guide for how you're going to place your stones by kind of drawing on the pasties. These are skulls, so I wanted to kind of look for some inspiration on skulls. So I pull up clip art on Google Image to help me decide. I wanted the skull to have like kind of angry or like evil eyes, but when I started to kind of think of what that looked like, I kind of thought of like the Punisher logo, and I didn't want them to look like that. So I looked up some clip art references, looked at the Punisher symbol to make sure that I wasn't going to be kind of going too close to that, and stayed different enough from that. And now you can see here I'm using this pointy pair of scissors to install this little spinner. This is like a fishing lure swivel, and I poke a hole through the center of the dart there, and then I install this hardware. I pull it through so that one of the little loops is on one side and one's on the other, and then I put a squeeze of hot glue into that to hold it in place, and then I let them dry. And now comes the fun part. We get to rhinestone. And if you don't know how to rhinestone, once again, I will plug my rhinestoning tutorial. It's right here on my channel, 4 parts. Learn everything you need to know about how to rhinestone something. And rhinestones really are what transform these pasties. Take it from kind of 0 to hero. And I'm using jet, cyan, and light cyan. So black, dark red, light red to rhinestone these bad boys. And look at them. Oh my god, they're so pretty. That's them just sparkling in the sunshine. Sunshine is a lot like stage light. And then I use a layer of Mod Podge to seal the backs of them, and I use a sponge tip brush. You can get whole boxes of those brushes for next to nothing at the craft store. So squirt some on and work it into the pasty. It usually takes like 2 layers. I put on the first layer and the pasty kind of absorbs it, and I put the second layer on, and that's when I find that I'm just like pushing it around on the surface of the pasty, and that's when I know like perfect. That's exactly what I want. So that helps protect them from warp and wear and adhesives and moisture from bodies and different things like that. Just makes them that much more durable. And after the Mod Podge dries, I spray a layer of like Elmer's or another brand, like 3M makes one, of just a spray adhesive onto the pasty, and it kind of like primes it for adhesives so that tapes and medical adhesive and things will stick to it better. And this is the pasties all finished up and ready to rock. I put their tassels on, And they're ready to go. Thanks again to Siren and Ice for the amazing templates. I always appreciate your fine work. Again, check out my description box for where you can buy Siren and Ice products. And I will see you folks next time. Bye-bye.